Okay. Taking a look over the regular season, the last three to be exact, the Bucks have the best record, winning percentage-wise in the NBA, and you see three of the main reasons on your screen. So, with that being said, we've seen the Bucks been so successful during the regular season, not necessarily have the postseason success as expected over the last three seasons, but looking how everything's changed this season. And we see Giannis gets hurt. They reinvent themselves, change their identity, and advance to the NBA Finals. But before that happened, 3D, what was the biggest change, in your opinion, in this year's Bucks team in looking at the last teams from years past?
Real simple. Holiday in the playoff time. They still have shooters. The defense is still solid. Khris Middleton still playing lights-out basketball. Even though he has a game or two where he disappears, people get mad at. Who was the difference factor? Jrue Holiday. We saw in that closeout game here in Atlanta, every time he turned the ball over, Sam, he came back and either got a big steal or a big rebound. And he said it himself in the press conference. He said, man, Khris Middleton was turning this ball over. But never complaining, never giving up. You know this, Sam. When you make a mistake, bro, you don't sulk, you don't complain. You get your butt back on defense and fix it. That's what Jrue Holiday did in that closeout game with the Hawks. So to answer your question, he's the main difference in my opinion, Sam.
Definitely has been the main difference. We talk about Jrue Holiday, the first player in Bucks postseason history of multiple games of 25 and 10 defensively. He's been outstanding. But, Coach, when we look at Khris Middleton, he's also stepped into that closer role as well. We've seen him drop 38 a couple of times. He's been outstanding.
Let me ask you a question. When the series on Batman, was it Batman and Robin, or was the series titled Batman? So my point is, that's Giannis. He's Batman. Khris Middleton has been his Robin. But when you think about Khris Middleton and people to 3D's point, because he's been a little up and down, okay, but think about it from this standpoint. When they needed him the most, when the game was on the line, did he shy away or did he step up? Did he fade or did he come through? If I remember correctly, the two games in Atlanta, Khris Middleton not only showed up, he showed out. And I mean, he put the Hawks to sleep. So I understand what people saying that, I don't quite trust Khris Middleton. He could disappear at times. Okay, but when you haven't had Giannis, he's stepped up. And when Giannis has been ineffective and you need him, he's taken this game to another level. So you don't need him to be this Khris Middleton when Giannis is on the floor being Giannis. Why? He can't be. He's not going to have the ball as much. But what you need to know as a coach, if I know that if Giannis is not quite right and I need to give him another game or two, to 3D's point, I know I got Jrue Holiday and Khris Middleton. I know I can put the ball in their hand. And guess what else? I know I can win games in the playoffs because they've done it without Giannis.
We look at Khris Middleton. There's been a lot of talk over the past couple of postseasons who is going to be Giannis's Robin. Well, so far, Middleton, and you can debate who is who. Regardless, you go to that first round against the Miami Heat. He knocks down that game winner in game one, establishes himself. They end up sweeping the Miami Heat. Then you go forward into the next round. They go to the 7 games. Everybody was favoring the Brooklyn Nets. He goes in there in game 7, has a huge 38-point performance, and next thing you know, they advance. And then 3D, as you mentioned, in the Hawks series, we saw him just explode in that third quarter, going for 20 points, ends up with another game scoring 30 or more. Middleton has really stepped into this closer's role. And regardless which superhero he is in the DC universe, he's definitely put on that cape when Giannis hasn't been there.
Yeah, and I think each guy, when they get to that next level road, they try to figure out how can I continue to be who I am along playing with another alpha star, right? And I think that's what Khris alluded to, that's what Jrue Holiday alluded to when Giannis now on the floor. There's different flow to the offense. And Sam hit it once again. When Giannis is on the floor, I got to be a catch and shoot guy. When Giannis is off the floor, okay, I could be a facilitator, a scorer, and get things flowing, and that's what he's shown us throughout this playoffs now.
Indeed. Now, a lot of criticism went towards Coach Bud. Adjustments, did you make them? Did you not? That was a lot of the talk. Now, Coach, coming to you, what has stood out that you've seen Coach Bud do in the later rounds, especially without Giannis?
A couple things, and people have talked about the stubbornness of Coach Bud, and I'm going to say this. He's won 71% of his games the last 3 years. So now think about it from that standpoint. So now you understand why he is stubborn. There's Giannis coming in the gym.
It actually is a live shot of Giannis entering the building.
Man, he ain't walking like he playing tomorrow.
Well, and we heard Jared Greenberg earlier said that there was an army of individuals, army of observers watching him. He was working out in the gym next door.
He looks sweaty, bro, with
He's
that
working.
tie around him.
Hey, we
He
know
got something done.
Hey, we know Giannis puts in that work.
Yeah, we know he's not afraid of work now, that's for sure.
No, and apparently, as Jared reported, there's going to be the medical staff, John Horst, the GM, and of course Coach Bud, who will all make a group decision along with Giannis, I assume, to decide if he will play in Game 1. His status is still uncertain as he exits the floor. And just watching him, listen, we're not doctors. However,
doctor on TV.
I will always
I played
say,
one on TV.
Yeah, I played one.
Hey, I will always say athletes will always be the closest thing to a doctor. When you observe Giannis, him walking 3D, starting with you, what do you see?
He seems to be walking fine. I just go back to the first report, no structural damage. Now, you see him right there. We all do that saying, you're feeling your leg, you're feeling good, I'm at the finals. And you want to make the right decision. And I go back to our early conversation is, if I'm Giannis, I'm trusting my body. The doctors told me in the MRI saying there's no structural damage. I'm going to the owner, I'm going to the GM, my head coach, and say, let's have this tough conversation.
Yep.
Coach, we all know what the Bucks' identity has become without Giannis. And we saw this kind of happen with Trae Young in that final game in Game 6. It seemed like Atlanta had figured out how they were going to play it, and Trae Young comes in. You want to have your best player, obviously, but it seemed like it disturbed the chemistry that they did have. When Giannis does return, how do you see it playing out? Do you feel like that's going to disturb what, has pretty much become their identity now, playing more inside and out?
I don't think so. I think it's going to enhance it for this reason. Giannis is still going to be nicked up. He's not going to be 100%. He's not going to be able to do all the things we've saw him do thus far in the playoffs. That being said, Giannis also have seen Khris Middleton and Jrue Holiday play. And Giannis right now understands in his mind, let me focus on the things that I can do healthy the best. I can always come up with block shots from the weak side. I can always be a good team defender. I can always be a facilitator. I can go down into post, force a double team, and then be the guy to start that chain reaction to get a three in the opposite corner. So there's a lot of other things he can do to help this team win, especially now that he's comfortable and knows that Jrue and Khris Middleton can carry the load offensively if needed.
And just in case you're tuning in right now, thank you for joining us. Jared Greenberg reporting earlier, Giannis, as you just saw on your screen, walking into the arena. Now, a private gym next door, he worked out, and an army of observers took a look at him. And again, the collective decision will be made if he will play in Game 1 Tuesday night. He is still uncertain as far as that goes. And right now, this is live television. I love it. We're still waiting on the head coach for the Milwaukee Bucks. Bud is going to join us momentarily, and we will hear from him at the podium. But 3D, and I posed the same question that I posed to Coach, just looking at Giannis and potentially him coming back. I don't want to say him disturbing it because obviously he deserves all the respect, two-time MVP, and we know what he brings to the table. But just seeing how things are flowing with this offense with Milwaukee, how do you insert Giannis back and have success with him being in that lineup?
Well, to that question, guys, I think you want to hurry up and make that decision. If he's playing, Sam, say he's playing. So now we talk about in my role, I know my role is different if Giannis is on the floor. All right? I'll come back for a second because you got something to do.
Oh, yeah, of course I do. Yeah, role definition. This is my role to play the point guard. Now I mentioned him. Now we will hear from Bud, who's an Arizona native.
We'll take first question here. Eric in the second row.
Good afternoon, Bud.
Hey.
Let's start with Giannis stuff. Are you expecting Giannis to play Game 1 tomorrow?
No, we'll continue to update it. He's had a good day. He's making progress. But I don't have expectations either way.
What does a good day entail? What has he done? Like, where is he at physically? Just what has he done today?
Yeah, he's done court work again today. And so he's making progress, and, we'll continue to update.
You guys are going to practice. Is he going to practice?
I think he may walk through a few things, but, we'll kind of determine that when we get out there.
For you guys defensively, obviously, Booker and Paul are such a big part of everything that they do offensively. We've seen you switch more. We've seen you guys play them straight up. Just as you're going into this series, what do you want your guys to focus on against those two?
They're very special players. They're gifted, talented. We gotta do our best to make everything hard on them. Limit their easy looks, limit their good looks, keep them off the free throw line. Feel like we got a lot of guys that we can throw at them. But they test you, they challenge you like great players do.
you don't have anyone on the roster with finals experience. You yourself, this is your first finals game as a head coach. What was it like walking in, seeing the finals kind of logo everywhere, and what are you kind of trying to keep the guys in the right mindset?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think there's, as you know, being around us a lot, just kind of dig into our routines, dig into our preparation, while at the same time keeping it clean and keeping it simple and getting ready to go play a basketball game. Certainly understand that, you're one of the last two teams standing, and this is a special place to get to. But at the end of the day, there's more work to be done, and you just focus on that work.
Malika?
Hey, Bud. I was just wondering if you could expand on with Giannis. Is it shooting? Is it cutting? Is he getting that explosiveness back? What is he actually doing? And is it more than what he was doing the last time he was on the court?
Yeah, no, I'm just going to leave it. He did core work, so he's making progress, and, we're pleased that he's making progress.
Number 2, blue shirt. Jonathan?
Coach, being somebody who kind of started your career overseas and worked your way up, how much can you relate to somebody's journey like PJ Tucker, who has really grounded himself to get to this point?
Yeah, I wouldn't equate my journey at all, or at least the fact that. But I love that that he started and played in Europe, and those guys, whether they be American players or international players, that kind of start and grow in that environment, and find a way to make it to the NBA and have a huge impact on winning. Wherever PJ Tucker goes, he's been a winner. But I think part of that is when you maybe, I think in a film session the other day we were joking, I don't know, I think Germany and different, Russia and here and there, and it builds his character. He was already tough, but I love his background and how he's gotten to where he is today.
How early after that March trade did you see what he could bring to this team? I mean, I'm sure that you knew what he could bring, but you saw it with the pieces that you already had.
Yeah, I mean, I don't remember, but I just one of the early games, because until you're around somebody, you don't really know. But the versatility of him as a defender, his ability to guard lots of different types of players, just was really impressive in one of the first or second games he was with us, and I would say just ability to guard wings and more perimeter-oriented guys. I think there was a real vision of his physicality on the block, his physicality in the paint, his ability to do that. But then, to guard, different types of players really stood out very, very early.
Dwayne in the front?
Yeah, Coach, you guys have dropped the last game ones in the last 2 series. What is key to getting that first one in terms of, focus, locking in, and things of that sort?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes, I think everybody's, locked in going into a game one. And I think sometimes the team that's maybe more free and more competitive and more just playing basketball, it's players, coaches, we're all similar. You have time and you talk about things and you work on things. And the great debate is, does that free you up to go compete, or does that, put you in a place where you're overthinking? And every coach that's ever been through this, and I guess to some degree players, that's the great, you got to walk that line. And I think, we want our guys to be free and to play and compete tomorrow.
Didn't know if you had even reached out to Pop at all during this and getting to the finals. If so, what kind of things have you asked him, and what kind of maybe advice, not giving everything away, advice he's maybe giving you for getting to this point?
Yeah, I've joked. He's kicked me out at 8 years. It's he's like, I think you have to figure it out on your own. So, I feel fortunate to have been, through the finals before as an assistant coach and watch great players and great coaches, manage and work through it. But I think just focused on our group and excited about what we're doing, and we're trying to find our way. Just myself, the team, the group. That's the challenge.
Do Eric in the back?
Hey, Mike.
Jim, sorry.
It's okay. It's a haircut. A couple weeks ago, you talked a little bit about Darvin and Charles specifically kind of being ready to maybe advance. But as you're to your staff as a whole in this process. I don't know if you can run through everybody, but I mean, what have they meant to you? What have they done to help set you up on game days and maybe the players to get to this point?
Yeah, I mean, I've said it many, many times that they are the key to, I think the coaching that our players get, that the coaching that, happens. They do the lion's share of the film, the prep, the work, the player development, how the players grow and how the players will be ready to play. The assistant coaches are phenomenal, what they do in games. It's just, they're special. And I'm a big believer in your coaching staff and how important they are. And I couldn't be more proud of them and more grateful for them. They all are, they're all special. Yeah. So, and it's a lot of fun to do it with them. I think they do a good job of bringing a little bit of fun factor, to the process too. So yeah, I love my guys, love my staff. They're incredible.
Dan?
Hey, bud. Kind of along those lines specifically, this organization and your players have been through a ton emotionally since the bubble and beyond. How valuable has it been having someone like Vin Baker, who has as good a perspective on life as anyone? Have you seen that be a factor for you guys as in your culture and in your organization?
Yeah, I think Vin has been incredibly important to us and unique. I think, there's a big part of the staff that, has been together for a significant amount of time. And Vin's a little bit of that new blood, but he's also been here for 3 years, and he's been in Milwaukee for a long time and had an amazing career. And the respect that the players have for him, the appreciation, and his outlook on life is just, I'm like, every time I'm around Vin Baker, I want more, and he's good for me. He's good for our players. It's hard to kind of, unless you get to experience Vin on a day-to-day basis, but he's very special, very good, and this perspective, the words, the thought behind it, he's really good for the players, really good for all of us.
Peter, we'll go to Zoom next.
The next question will be from Barry Bloom.
Hey, Mike. How much do you know about the whole Milwaukee Phoenix history with them both expanding into the league at the same time, the cream coin flip? If you have any sort of perspective on this, that you're playing in the finals 53 years after all that happened?
I know about as much as what you just described. So, I do, know that those things happen, but I would be, to say it goes much further or much deeper than that. But I do think there's just a ton of respect for the Bucks organization, and you get to see and feel some of that history and appreciate, where they started, how they've evolved, including 10 years, whatever it was, and now to where we are today and all the things that an organization goes through. It's been great to have, I guess a little 3-year window of it. We joke, it's 50 plus years and a lot of winning, a lot of success, and I'm just happy to be a little small piece of the Bucks organization.
Thanks.
Next question will be from John Weatherspoon.
Well, congratulations on your finals berth, John Weatherspoon, NBA panel. Can you talk about the team's next up mentality as Giannis has went down and how close this team is?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it's one of those, sports cliches that, there's a reason for those cliches, because you see it happen time and time again in different sports and playoffs, and what the group was able to do, without Giannis in Game 5 and Game 6. And, Bobby Portis obviously shouldered a lot of that, but, I think what, Pat Connaughton is able to do, Jeff Teague, Brent Forbes, Brooke taking on a more significant role, how Drew and Chris led, and, PJ Tucker, everything he does, it's about winning. So, I think the whole group, I guess next man up is the phrase, but it's really each man taking a little share of that load. And the guys did that well. And we may have to do that going into game one and until Giannis, hopefully is able to return.
Lisa, last question in the back row.
All right. So, Coach, with Giannis' uncertain situation, does it make extra difficult for you and your staff in very short period of rest time?
I mean, it's the playoffs. They always have a little bit of things that are complicated and hard. And I'm sure Phoenix, they may be asking Phoenix the same question: is it harder? Not knowing. And you just got to take things as they come. Again, try and keep things clean for the players. Just allow them to go out and play. And I think the fact that we had a game 5 and a game 6 and understand, what we need to do, regardless of who we're playing, is helpful. Dealing with, the circumstances that we have. All right, thanks.
Thank you, Coach.
Coach Bud right there, and just a little bit of history. When these two teams came in the league back in the late 60s, they came in the Western Conference, and the last time the Bucks won the championship in 71, they were in the same division. Just to give you a little bit of a history lesson right there. Thank you, Underdog, for that nugget. Before we exited and went to Coach, you were explaining, finish your thought.
Well, Bud, I think has shown us from being around. I think he learned a lot when he was here in Atlanta. He took Atlanta to 60 wins, best ever, right? Then get to the playoffs, same, that they get swept by LeBron James. So when he talks about keeping the players in the moment, I'm sure he's not going to share a lot of information that him and Coach Bud probably had offline. So I know
Coach
Bud.
Pop.
Yeah, I know Bud a little bit. When he was here,
Right.
my son and his son played together a little AAU ball. So I know Bud's not going to tell us everything. So Bud, don't get mad at me for saying this. But I know he's talked to Pop. And I know Pop has put good words and good brain food, that I like to say, is leave these guys in the moment. Let all the people around or outside of the Milwaukee Bucks organization do all the naysaying. Make sure your guys are happy, healthy as possible, and go out there and play the freest basketball as we go listen to Khris Middleton.
That's what we're going to do. 3D Setter, he did my job. Take it away.
Giannis has been out there. Brooke, Bobby, Pat, I go down the line, PJ Tucker. Meet each other out there.
Jim in the back.
Hey, Chris. So you've come back from an injury? You've worked on your game. What is your career has kind of been defined right by this work behind the scenes. So what drove you to that? Was it winning a championship or respect or job security or like what kind of wired you to be that way, to work this way?
Just be the best version of myself I could be. The best player. I mean, I think. I put a lot of work in, but every NBA player has. We wouldn't be here. We would be professionals if we didn't. To be the best, you have to work like the best, and I think we all believe in that.
So is this just how you're wired? So if you were working wherever else in some other line of work, this is how you would approach your? For
sure. I mean, I'm not gonna try to waste my time. I just half-assing it. I'm gonna give it my all. I'm going to work to be the best I can. I may not be the greatest, but I feel like I could be the best version of myself.
Over on the right.
Hey, Chris, right here. Do you think this matchup is it's interesting for a lot of reasons, but, you and Devin Booker are I think, two of the more underappreciated stars in this league and, both playing for USA Basketball a little later. What do you think about that matchup, and do you think you guys have a similar, it's cliche to say chip on the shoulder, but just a similar approach to the game because of maybe being overlooked a little?
I guess you could say that. I mean, I really can't tell you or give you, I guess, what you want to hear. I think, Book is a fantastic player. He's a younger player than myself. So, he's worked on his game. He's missed the playoffs for, how many years he's been in the league, and he's here in the finals the first time in his playoffs, which I think is, pretty cool and tough to do. It tells the type of person he is, how hard he works, how much he believes in this organization too.
Let's go right here, Eric in the second row.
Do you expect Giannis to play tomorrow night?
I can tell you, man. I expected him to play the next game or come back the day he got injured. He still wasn't out there, so I couldn't tell you.
For you, how do you try to support him through this? Like, we all know how he's wired, right? Like, he wanted to come back in that night. But how do you try to support him? Is it, hey, we're here for you, whatever, like, you need? Or, like, how do you try to do that?
Just tell him, do his best for himself and his family. Don't rush back and put yourself at a greater risk for a greater injury. But he's a guy, He put so much time and effort into his body to be the best version of himself also. So, yeah.
For you guys this postseason, you've really leaned on switching a lot on defense. How do you think you guys have grown in that? I know against the Suns you did it a lot in crunch time in the regular season, but just how do you think you guys have kind of grown in that in the postseason?
It's been great. I think, the biggest guy that, had to adjust the most is Brooke. I mean, he's a guy that's 7 foot that sometimes has to switch on to point guards, shooting guards. They try to take advantage of him, but he does a great job of, using his size, his length to contest shots to keep guys in front of him.
What do you think about Tuck and the way that he's kind of been able to help in that transition?
He's a guy that has a lot of experience in that. His whole career, he's been a guy that's guarded 1 through 5. So to have him on our team, to give us the confidence to go ahead and throw those different lineups out there and rely on him in a lot of different situations, it's been great.
Sean on the right.
Yeah, Khris, can you explain what you've seen from your team without Giannis?
Yeah, just, a team that's trying to play unselfish, trying to do it as a committee. When Giannis is out there, a lot of times we could just give him the ball and let him go to work and, let him orchestrate a lot of things out there. Without him, we have to do it by committee, moving the ball around, driving it a little bit more, playing just a little bit faster with a little bit of different flow. But I think guys have done a great job of adjusting with him not out there in two of the most important games of our season.
Yeah, and also you, Devin Booker, and Chris Paul have made an art of the mid-range shot. How much of a weapon is that for you three players?
I think it's huge. A lot of coaches, teams, schemes, they want you to shoot threes and layups, and that's what a lot of teams expect you to do. But when you stop, sometimes they just don't expect it. It gives you a clean look. So if you work on it, it almost seems like a layup or a three-point shot for myself.
Back left here.
Hey, Khris, going back to this idea that you're in the finals, no player on this team has ever been to the finals before. So what's it like being able to experience this together?
It's cool. Like everything's a first for us. Like this is my first media day for something like this. So we're all trying to stay locked in as much as we can, not think about the outside influences of, it being the NBA finals, just trying to take it one game at a time.
Pat described you as calm, cool, and collected. How has that approach helped you throughout your career?
Just stay the course. Not try to think about too much except for what I need to do on the basketball court. Not try to get rattled or not get rattled when things aren't going my way. Don't get too cocky when things are going my way. Just stay in the course and, just working for it.
Dwayne in the front.
Yeah, Khris, what's the biggest challenge or challenges in guarding Devin Booker?
Just a guy that he get tough shots. A guy that can score from the three, the mid-range, and the paint. A guy that can get to the free throw line. He's a guy that really can score in every single way, which it's tough to guard because you don't know when he's going to stop and shoot, when he's going to keep going, when he's going to look to create for others. It's just a great balance he has.
Go to Zoom on. Go ahead, Peter.
Okay, the next question and the last question is from Steve with the AP.
I was just wondering, I know the roster's changed quite a bit from last year, but for those of you who are back from last season, everything y'all went through in the bubble, from leading the protest for social justice to having your postseason end maybe a little earlier than you wanted, how did it kind of strengthen your bond and maybe toughen you for this postseason run, if at all?
I think everything we've been through is just experience. You learn from it. All the postseason failures we've had so far, we've found a way to use that as motivation and just use it and let it teach us how to be better, how to be better people, how to be better players.
Thank you, Khris.
Thanks.
What are you doing to take this in?
I'm excited to be here. I'm just enjoying the moment, and not really trying to, worry about anything, be too far in the future or anything like that. I just, kind of want to soak everything in.
If you'd go to Disney, I feel like you'd get like souvenirs. Like, are you thinking about trying to do any of that here?
If there's a souvenir shop, I'll probably get my wallet and buy something. So I don't know, maybe that's what the NBA is missing out on, like merchandise for the actual players. I don't know. That's a new angle, Eric.
Thank you. For you, just what have you thought of the way that, Bobby and PJ have kind of helped give that edge, that toughness. I was talking to Bud about it the other day, and the veterans you had last year in George Hill, Marvin, think of as calm, chill, like individuals, but Bobby and PJ kind of bring that edge. What do you think that has done to your kind of like locker room chemistry?
Yeah, I mean, just the way Bobby and PJ play any game, whether it's a preseason game or Game 6 of the Eastern Conference Finals, they're just going to play with so much energy and so much intensity, and that is just naturally contagious, and everyone feeds off it. People can't help but feed off it, and so it is so big time for us.
Sean on the right.
Yes, I'm sure you've watched DeAndre Ayton on film, and I just want to know, what can you tell us about his development, and what kind of challenge will that be for you?
Yeah, I mean, he's obviously developed very rapidly, and even this season and even in the playoffs, he just continues to get better. And so I know he's going to be a load down there. He's very talented in the post. He can step out and shoot it. He's great in the pick and roll, and he crashes the offensive boards hard and just plays hard in general. So he's definitely going to be a load to guard, and it's going to be a fun matchup.
Back left.
So, Brooke, your teammates have echoed your sentiments of just like taking this all in. But then at the same time, after Game 6 in Atlanta, PJ was like, we were already talking about Phoenix. So how can two things be true? Taking in the fact that you're in the finals, which is great, but also understanding that there's a task at hand.
Yeah, I mean, we obviously can kind of do both those things. We had film right before we got here. We watched Phoenix, their offense, their defense, everything, and talked about what we were going to do in game plan. And so we're all on the same page there, and then after we go through this, we're going to go on the court and walk through some stuff. So, it's just kind of taking turns, doing certain things at a time. But, we obviously have our focus.
And I know this is all preview, like once you get on the court, everything changes. But in this moment right now, what do you think the series could come down to?
I think it's just going to be kind of what we've hung our hat on as long as I've been here, and that's defense. We got to come out, play defense, respect the Suns, which we definitely do. They're a great team. And we have to just come from the jump, be ready from the jump, and play a full 48 minutes each and every night for 7 games.
Dan, here in the front.
Hey, Brooke. Kind of 2 questions. What does Vin Baker mean to you, and having him around? And then I guess, secondly, how have you seen him grow as a coach, specifically, in his time as his position is sort of elevated?
Yeah, I mean, having Vin, on the sideline and as a resource for me has just been invaluable. It's, I mean, at first for me, obviously, just as a basketball fan, I was like, this is awesome. I got Vin Baker, pretty much as my big man coach. But, just getting to know him and becoming great friends, almost like family. I call him my older brother, and to have him on the sideline, someone who's done everything in the NBA, been through what we're going through right now. It's great to see, and it was actually real special. We were talking, he said, he'd never been in the finals before, so he's living through this as we are too. And so it's been a special bond that we've created, and he's such a great basketball mind as well. Like I said, just having played on an NBA floor, he sees things sometimes the coaches miss. He knows what it's like, and so it's very special having him on the sideline.
We're going to go a couple of questions on Zoom.
Next question will be from Davide.
Hey, Brooke. Which is the difference for you with or without Giannis?
Obviously, Giannis attracts a lot of attention. He's a huge part of what we do. I think, in a way, with or without Giannis, we know we have to just go out there and play Bucks basketball. We're going to have to play great team basketball, rely on each other, play together, and again, play great defense. Play great defense for 48 minutes.
The next question will be from Edgar Borges.
Hey, Brooke. Congratulations on going to the finals for the first time. My question is simple. Both Phoenix and Milwaukee, they have same parallels on the way to the finals. So what's the most tricky part for you on the Milwaukee side?
Can you please repeat that one more time?
What's the most trickiest part for you on the Milwaukee side, on the parallel to the road to the finals?
I'm not sure exactly what the trickiest part was. On the road to the finals for us, we had, I think, different matchups each round. You know, Miami obviously gave us a different look. Brooklyn was different, and Atlanta was different. And you know, I think honestly, Phoenix will be a different look. And so it's kind of like what we've been doing all season long. That's just, you know, obviously respecting our opponent but focusing on ourselves.
We'll take two final questions in here. Lisa in the back, and then on the second row.
And Brooke, obviously, you guys' goals always like the championship for the past of 2 or 3 years, right? But is there any moment in these playoffs you feel like the goal is more clear for you guys? Is there any moment?
I don't know if I can speak for everyone, but for me personally, I think there hasn't really been any doubt for me throughout this playoff run. Just, you know, whether we were up 2-0 against Miami or down 2-0 against Brooklyn, you know, I think I've had that confidence. And I kind of changed what I said earlier. I'd like to be able to speak for everyone else and saying that we've all had that confidence going through. You know, that we can achieve that goal of winning a championship.
Hey, Brooke. Tomorrow, you know, there's going to be 17,000 fans. It's going to be rowdy. It's going to feel relatively normal. Is it hard to believe that, you know, 8 months ago, teams were getting schedules knocked off because of COVID? You know, there was nobody in the crowd. I mean, like, just kind of put in perspective what this journey, I mean, not just for you, but everyone has been this season.
Yeah, it's definitely been bizarre. I mean, we were in Chicago maybe, gosh, it might have been a couple weeks before the season ended, and they still didn't have fans in the stands. And so to go from that and to be fortunate enough to be playing in front of 17,000, like you said, that's every kid's dream to play in the NBA Finals, you know, and you want to be able to experience that environment. And that's something, you know, Giannis, PJ, Drew, they've been just saying the whole time is like, we want to enjoy, you know, being on the road, playing against all those fans, going crazy, cheering against us. That's all part of enjoying being in the situation. So I think we're all very excited for that.
Thank you, Brooke.
Thank you, guys.
So that was Brooke. Now we go to his teammate. It's a player Holiday, Drew Holiday, making his finals debut on Tuesday night, coming over to the Milwaukee Bucks after he exited.
I hope one of his brothers told him to be aggressive like he told us the other night.
Yeah, Charles Barkley asked him that question, and we'll see how aggressive
we'll take
he
questions
is.
in the room. Malika in the center.
Hello. Hi, Drew. I have two for you. First, I'm just wondering, you've talked so much in the past about how your wife has been on the biggest stages before and you seek her advice in these moments. What is she telling you about what it means to prepare to compete for a championship in this place?
Well, what she's told me is to enjoy it. It's an opportunity of a lifetime, and really just leave everything out there. Believe in yourself because you prepared for it, and most of all, just enjoy it, everything that comes with it.
It seemed like in the last couple of games without Giannis, something flipped in terms of your aggression. You were just attacking the basket in a different way. Is there something mentally that you're telling yourself when there is someone of Giannis's caliber missing, as you're trying to sort of psych yourself up to, as Khris said, by committee, fill this gap?
Yeah, just to continue to be aggressive. No letdowns, because the way Giannis plays, there are no letdowns. He's continually going to the basket, being aggressive on both ends of the floor, and he brings so much to this team, and he does so much for us that I feel like losing that would really be hard for us. So just continue to be aggressive from minute 0 to 48.
Jim in the back.
Hey, Drew. Couple of quick ones. You'll see Torrey in a different uniform. How unique is that? I know it was a short time and he was hurt and there was some of that stuff, but what do you recall of those practice battles maybe, and do you expect to see him maybe across from you? And
No, I'm happy. I'm happy for Torrey. I'm excited to see him. Us having conversations during the year, wanting to get to this place, and he did it not with us. He did it with a different team. But happy for him. He's out there playing and fighting for the same thing we're fighting for. but would love to beat him.
You said, and as Brooke just walked out, saying like to stay in the moment, but knowing there's work to be done. You mentioned that after Atlanta. Have you done anything just in this last, I don't know, 12 hours to sort of, I don't know, did you take a picture or something? Did you try to see something in town where you're like, okay, this is the finals, and let yourself have that before work? Does that make sense?
I've tried to sleep.
Okay.
I've tried to sleep and recover. I mean, we were literally home for like, I don't know, more than 6 hours, but I'm exaggerating. But something like that where we hopped off one flight and hopped on another one. So really just trying to prepare for game one.
Mark in the front right.
Hi, Drew. Two-part question for you. What did it mean to you that you were one of the finalists for Kareem's Social Justice Champion Award? And what does Kareem mean to you personally, knowing his efforts on that front as well as his history with the Bucks organization?
Yeah, he's a legend in more than one category. Obviously, basketball-wise, me going to UCLA and me growing up a Laker fan, and then me playing for the Bucks. Like, it's actually really, really cool how connected we may be. But I think just what he's done for our community, what he's done for basketball, is huge, and that's something that I look up to and something that I try to follow suit.
Dwayne?
Yeah, Drew, obviously you played for Coach Williams as well, and I just was curious if you can maybe recall those experiences. Coach was saying that, you had injuries during that time, but he said when you were ready, when you were available, you got the job done. What was it like playing for Coach?
Great basketball mind. Great basketball mind, especially when it comes to basketball. But off the court, he was a great person. He treated everybody kind of like a son. He was more of a father figure, and really cared for each one of his players. And I feel like that's what I cherish most about the time there. Yeah, I was hurt, but so many times when I was hurt, he could relay messages to me about him being hurt and sharing those moments. So he's been a great person for me in my growth and being a pretty good basketball player.
Back left.
Hey, Drew, how did every team that you all have played thus far on this journey prepare you for the matchup ahead with Phoenix?
Yeah, I think we've had a lot of different looks. Miami, a team that plays pretty fast and really relies on threes. They were huge in the first round, and then we had that 7-game series with Brooklyn, which was exhausting, but some of the best scorers in the league on one team, and really having to test your individual defense. And then we had Atlanta, where you have one great young star, and then you have guys who rebound and go to the rim. A couple other young guys who are going to be great, but really tried their best to go at us. So I think we had a lot of different looks where this team, the Suns, I feel like they're great in transition. They play super fast. DeAndre Ayton, Jay Crowder, they go to the rebound, they go to the boards. And then you got that individual Chris Paul and Devin Booker. So it's actually prepared us pretty well for this moment.
Yeah, when you talk about it like that. Lastly,